Hi there, welcome back to the Apatros Review. I'm your host, Milja Sipka, and in this episode we look at this is the first of a number of films with Larry Cohen, the legendary cult director from the 1970s, 80s, who'd done films like God Told Me To and Cue the Winged Serpent. In this episode we look at the film Full Moon High, which was Larry Cohen's attempt to make a low-budget werewolf comedy, and this came out right when films like The Howling and American Werewolf in London were coming out with their practical effects, awesome effects. But this one didn't really have those effects. I'll explain that later on. Now, Full Moon High was released here in Australia in the late 2000s by Shock Entertainment when they took o- took over much of the MGM's catalog. 20th Century Fox took over much of the others. And this was released by a Tier 2 specialist label and also released in the Cinema Cult range. Now I picked up my copy from the 80s Horror Collection box set. I also I've a bunch of other films in that collection too. It's a rare box set. The picture format is NTSC. It's got Region 4 code. It's got a stereo track, 185 wide, and the only extra on is a theatrical trailer. But I'll explain that later on. The film is a frighteningly cheap jack, but nevertheless passably amusing and deliriously silly, no-budget werewolf comedy that came out around the tail end of the brief wave of real-time transformation werewolf films that popped up at the start of the 1980s, like I said, The Howling and American Werewolf in London, for examples. But this was more of an aberration of that trend in the sense that you don't see any sophisticated air bladder effects here. Larry Cohen, who had always been a rather inventive but overall cheap filmmaker, couldn't afford the services of people like Rick Baker or Rob Bottin, so he had to bypass the subgenre's requirements, often in amusingly cheap fashion. Here, Cohen tells the story of Tony Walker, played by Adam Arkin, a star football player for the high school of Full Moon High, who is strong-armed into missing his most important game by a CIA agent father so that the man can fly into Romania for a covert mission, where Tony ends up being gently assaulted by a werewolf. And by the way, this first part is set in the 1950s. Upon returning home, Tony finds his newfound werewolf affliction more than a little annoying. He heads out at night and playfully nips various women in the ass, resulting in said asses being bandaged, and after accidentally causing the death of his father, decides to skip town. After wandering the world for 20 years without aging a single day, Tony returns to Full Moon High, which is now a typical 1980s-style cesspool of moral decay, posing as his own son, because he can't age, in order to settle the score people from his past. As it stands, Full Moon High is pretty funny in places, mainly from the hero's culture shock and using his supernatural affliction to his advantage, although it does pose its fair share of problems. For example, fleas, silver cutlery restaurants, its tendency to nip people, constantly eating dog food. Now, as someone who's personally had to survive for a couple of days by eating nothing but dog biscuits, I actually sympathize with him. Don't ask. Oh, and then for these days of inflation, it takes more than a single silver bullet to kill a werewolf. Indeed, about 8 or 12 makes certain. An important fact that becomes crucial at the end. That said, there appears to be no boundaries as to how far Cohen is prepared to take his jokes, resulting in some scenes going on to be becoming really stupid, like the funeral scene, where the soldiers don't seem to understand when to do the rifle gunshot salute appropriately, and the slim budget means that what little effects there are tend to be on the amusingly bad side, like the model plane being squashed by a giant hand. Most people today would find this in the comically bad arena, but if you're a fan of early 1980s comic horror schlock, this one's pretty nice for the collection. Now, the DVD was one of a bunch of MGM titles that were acquired by Shock Entertainment after the major studio went into financial trouble. Like I said, 20th Century Fox took some of the other MGM titles, and was released both on its own as part of a box set of 1980s horror cult flicks named 80s Horror Collection. The disc I reviewed was from this set, which is a rare set, and all the discs in the set were given new labels to match the sender with the same ID code. If you want to find the original catalog number of the disc, look it up on the inner ring of the DAS side of the disc. As for this one, the picture is in 185 anamorphic within the NTSC format. The picture has no major issues. This is a clean looking transfer, but there is a problem. There's pretty much grain in this film. Almost every shot has grain in it. It's a mild grain, it's not too severe, but then again, that's probably because of the cheap jack film materials they used at the time. And the shadow detail is a little lacking, but then again, due to low budget film stock. This is a transfer that does tend to look its age, but not because of picture quality, instead more due to the turn of the 80s fashion trends. The soundtrack is a solitary English stereo track that sounds a little muffled at times, although primarily due to the original equipment used for the film. There are no subtitles and the menu is very limited with only 6 chapters and a trailer for the supplement, which looks to be in passable shape. Trailers don't tend to get restored and always tend to look worse than the main feature, but to be honest, that only adds to the experience. Now, the verdict: the film gets a C+, which is a 5 out of 10, so it's passable. Like I said, it's a nice film to have in your collection if you're after like low budget 80s horror shock. And as far as 80s werewolf films go, this is better than most of those Howling sequels. I will review those Howling sequels, most of them, in coming years. The only ones I won't do are the last that were made, like Howling New Moon Rising, Howling Reborn. I won't do those two, but the other ones I will. This is not a particularly great film, but indeed some of the humor is very dated. But if you are a fan of it, like I said, it's a nice one for your collection, if you want. Now the print I give a B, 3 stars. It's a solid transfer, but the problem is this is just a bit of it's pretty grainy at most of the time. Then again, that's like I said, that's due to the condition of the print, and it's not a problem. I'm not one of those people who thinks that film grain is unnatural. In fact, I mean, to have grain in the film, it just shows like gives context to the film. The supplement I give a D, which is 1 star, or a 2 out of 10. That's only a trailer for that. So anyway, that's it for this review.